Welcome, everyone, to the Not Hate Speech Show. I'm your host, Dylan.
And I'm your host, John. And today we're going to be talking about Antifa and domestic terrorism.
Ooh,
Hmm.
fun. So let's see here. We have something from the National Review. Six Antifa extremists arrested, charged with domestic terrorism in fiery Atlanta riots. So I'm not really too up to date with what's been going on in Atlanta. All I know is it's been like a complete nightmare of a mess. Um,
So, so the basic story, as I understand it from social media, which I will admit I haven't been reading the exact details, but essentially, police got after someone who was Antifa. The person that was gone after that was Antifa. Antifa decided to in retro, encounter, say that now it's open season on police officers. There's a lot of social media hubbub about now it's like Antifa versus cops, a lot of violent threats, which I mean, as you can see, the article led into actual violent crime that could kill people. So,
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, let's just read into the article just to get a little bit more
yeah.
like attuned to what's going on. So, six people were arrested on charges of domestic terrorism by Atlanta police Saturday night following riot carried out by Antifa activists who shattered windows, destroyed a police car, and vandalized walls with graffiti. So, this is back on January 23rd, so about a week or two ago.
Right.
Protesters descended upon Atlanta following the death of Manuel Esteban Paez Terán, Tortuguita. I'm probably butchering that name. A climate
Oh,
activist who was killed during a violent confrontation with police earlier in the week. Five of the six people arrested came from out of state to cause mayhem. Oh, that's not a surprise at all. One
right.
of the arrested, Francis Carroll, was out on bail for domestic terrorism and is the son of a wealthy Maine family, according to investigative reporter Andy Ngo. Um, I think actually I follow him on Twitter. He has a lot of interesting takes on things. Um, but I can't necessarily say that I'm like surprised by any of this. And actually, I remember people were saying, or at least the mainstream media was like, mostly peaceful protests, mostly peaceful. And it's just like, these images here don't look mostly peaceful.
Right. And the main problem here, and this is what I would have an issue with, is so, let's take January 6th. And just like I mentioned, I actually really haven't read much into this specific case just because this is so common. Like there's so many, and across so many states, when it was happening, when Antifa was at their peak, Antifa Black Lives Matter was at their peak, they were committing domestic terrorism in every single major city nightly, arson every single night, murder every single night, assault every single night, like federal crimes against federal officers, federal buildings. People are being burned alive in their homes, all this kind of stuff nightly. You couldn't keep up with it. And the part that's just so insane and like a double standard is that we've had January 6th, where the only people who got injured were people who were protesters, and protesters that were unarmed, had not committed crimes. Like these kind of crimes are insane. And that gets to be on the news for like an entire presidency, talking about how MAGA, Trump supporters, white people are domestic terrorists. But this, where is this in the news? What celebrities, what politicians are coming forward talking about domestic terrorism? Where's the FBI? Where's the committee, the Antifa committee, to talk about Antifa being a domestic terrorist group? Where is it? It's bullshit. And this is actually real problems, not fictional ones where an old lady walks into the Capitol with an American flag.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a real problem.
Yeah, and you're definitely not off the mark with that. And actually, I recently saw Joe Rogan where he just basically goes nuclear on like the mainstream media for not reporting on this, and then basically he's treating it like leftist propaganda and like trying to downplay like the significance of like all this stuff that's going on in the streets of like police cars being destroyed, businesses like being attacked
Right.
basically, and just like all that crap. And it's just like he goes on his show and he's like telling CNN, I believe, that it is not your job to do that. Like, stop the propaganda, just do real world reporting. And that's why I feel like actually a lot of like the mainstream media is like the legacy media is failing for that
Mm-hmm.
reason because like a lot of people see through it and like it's people like us that are actually reporting on what's not actually being covered in
Right.
that sense.
And two
Um,
things I want to say really quickly on that. What you mentioned brought that up in my mind. So two things. One, and both of them are actually the overarching thing is that none of this is being done for the sake of like the black community or poverty areas. None of it's being done for that. It is purely politics because two things. One, um, murder gets covered the exact same way because in like like in south side of Chicago, you can have 5 people killed, homicides. No one cares. No one sends out any kind of investigative team. It's homicides. We're over it. But if it happens in like a nice white school, mass shooting, and then that's on the news everywhere. But you get a mass shooting in Chicago every night. So where is, this has nothing to do with caring about Black lives or Black Lives Matter. And the second part to that is that when this kind of stuff happens, it's usually tearing down those same neighborhoods they're trying to help. And you can go online and listen to like video after video. We can add that in later of people who are devastated because imagine your neighborhood, and a lot of the people don't, they don't have access to transportation. All your neighborhood stores are burned down to the ground. What are you going to do? And there's people who are disabled. There's this one older lady who's like an elderly Black woman, and she's on the news talking about how she wants to like commit suicide because she has nowhere to get groceries now. Her whole neighborhood is burned down. How is that Black Lives Matter?
it's not. And actually I do remember during like the pandemic and BLM and stuff how like people were attacking their own neighborhoods, and like you have like Black people who own these businesses being so upset that they can't actually like continue working because like everything is just destroyed.
It
And
destroyed Black businesses. It
yep,
destroyed Black businesses. Like, what was
yep,
the point?
pretty much. And then like a lot of the bigger like corporations like Target are just and Walmart are just expected to, oh well, we make enough money, insurance will cover, blah blah blah. And it's just like, okay, well, where does that play in for like smaller businesses? So it's good, okay for one because it's big enough, but it's obviously not okay for someone that is a very small business owner.
But then that also, I don't know if you're familiar with these terminologies, but the concepts of like food deserts and talking about, well, why are there no major businesses or nice businesses in poverty areas? That's why. Do you think that they're going to rebuild their store? Are they going to put another Target in that neighborhood? No. Now
Nope.
you just lost every major business that was in that neighborhood. They're not going to rebuild there. They're going to say, we're not going to lose another $1 million on the store you just destroyed.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Now you have no businesses.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So let's continue reading on to the article. So Terán was part of a group of environmental protesters blocking the construction of a new Atlanta Police Department training facility. The group dubbed their campaign Stop Cop City. Destruction of material is fundamentally different from violence. Oh God, I roll. All reported.
Wait, what?
So the first line here reads, "Destruction of material is fundamentally different from violence."
Who's saying this?
Um, it
Sorry, I
doesn't.
interrupted.
No, it's fine. It doesn't say who it's quoting. But it might later on. So let's just continue.
Yeah.
All reported acts appear to be explicitly targeted against the financial backers and goons of Atlanta Police Foundation, a shady nonprofit that funnels weapons and military gear into our city to wage war on the Black and brown folks. A spokesman for the anti-police campaign told a local Atlanta news station. Well, that's not a problem at all.
Well, so this isn't violence. The pictures of like utter destruction and fire are not violence.
And what? Let's actually look at the video right now.
Yeah, let's see. This isn't violence.
Nope, not violence at all.
Wow.
There's glass everywhere. There's rocks everywhere. But this isn't violent. Not at all.
No. You know what's a problem? January 6th.
Oh, yes. January 6th is such a problem. It's worse than 9/11, clearly.
Right, exactly.
Okay, well, clearly that...
Jeez, and you can hear it. You can hear the craziness going on, too. Like, the ambiance, if you're there, that's not a safe place to be.
Clearly not.
No.
But yeah, so...
That's obviously violence.
So the end of the article concludes the Antifa riots in Atlanta coincided with similar demonstrations that took place Saturday night in Boston. Protesters vandalized a monument in the Boston Common and assaulted a police officer following the fatal police shooting of a university student in December of 2022. The son of House Minority Whip Catherine Clark, Democrat of Massachusetts, was arrested during the violence. Cool. Well, I
And
mean that.
I want to mention one last thing here. So also, I mean, I think also this publication is one that actually does choose to be more fair with what they put out. Legacy media, like you said, they don't talk about this stuff. Joe Biden said Antifa is an idea. It's not
Oh
an idea.
God.
The idea is destroying cities. You know, like Chicago, here in Chicago, the statistic was during the riots that happened during George Floyd, now the downtown of Chicago, every like 2 out of 3 businesses are empty now because of everyone that moved out. Because no one wants to be there. You know,
Yeah.
no one wants to be in Chicago if all their businesses are going to get looted by loot trains, and then they're non-violent loot trains. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, I think actually like the Magnificent Mile was renamed the Mile of Fear after everything that has
Yeah.
transpired over the last couple of years because of those loot trains and everything that happened downtown. And Lori Lightfoot has absolutely done nothing about it. Um,
Kim Fox, the queen herself of catch and release.
oh God, yeah, no, she hasn't helped either, and I feel as though our governor also hasn't helped. But I mean, he just got elected for another 4 years, so we'll see what
So did
happens.
Kim Fox. So Kim Fox, and also an interesting thing. So
Yep.
you know they are also friends with the Obamas. The Obamas haven't spoken out about this either, which is kind of like for people who are supposed to be when we're looking for leaders. I would love for Obama to come out and say something about this, but what do they say instead? Black Lives Matter, that kind of nonsense, encouraging the stupid shit. Then they also encourage the politicians they have in office, Kim Fox, to catch and release. So what are we supposed to think at that point about Obama? I would love for Obama to be a leader right now and say, this isn't the way to do it. Like
Yep.
Martin Luther King Jr. He would be saying, this is only making war. Like, you need to fix things.
Yeah.
No one's saying that. No one's saying that in Democrat positions, and they need to be.
No, they should, but I don't know. It is what it is, and that really wraps up our time for this article. So, wanted to thank everyone for watching. Don't forget to click the like button and click that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. I'm your host, Dylan.
I'm your host, John.
And
Thanks for watching.
Yep. Have a good night.
Bye.